Hello everyone, and welcome to another iClone 7 Academy tutorial. Today's topic will be GI Basics Part 1. In this tutorial, we will cover what is global illumination, as well as which elements contribute to the global illumination solution. In Part 2, we will cover the UI feature by feature. I will show you what the sliders do, and then how to best use them. So let's get started because we have a ton of stuff to cover. So, what is global illumination? Let's take a look at this scene and I'll show you how it works. We have a cube, a sphere that are inside a box, which has only one opening, and in the interior of that box, there is one yellow wall in the back, which will help us visualize better how global illumination works. So let's get a better angle and get started. Right now, this scene is being lit by what is called an auxiliary light. This light is a light that comes from nowhere in the scene and is there to help you visualize the geometry just in case your scene is super dark like this one. Very handy feature. So let's go ahead and turn on the light and see what happens. We have one directional light that is pointing in the same direction as the window, and when we turn it on, you can notice that only the surfaces that the light rays filter through the window and can see will be lit. This is what we call direct lighting. Notice here how the rays stop where the cube is, and then everything else is in shadow. And any ray that can filter in between the cube and the opening of the window will hit the back wall. Now, what is global illumination? Well, global illumination is the feature where a direct ray will hit a surface and bounce off that surface and illuminate another surface. And this is what we call indirect lighting. Now let's turn the feature on and see what it does. Now, to turn the feature on, you have to have this icon pressed first, which is your global settings being turned on. However, not for the display or the viewport. If you want to see GI inside the viewport, you click this second icon over here. And there you go. Beautiful global illumination or indirect lighting at the push of a button. Notice how the rays that bounce off the wall, first of all, the light rays are coming in a white color. It's very important to see that. And as they bounce off, they actually take a little bit of the surface color and gives it to the next surface. This is why we're seeing the sphere here being lit yellow, and over here the ceiling and the walls as well. And it's not doing it just once, it's doing this multiple times. Now let's see what happens when we move the sphere around. As we start blocking those rays, you will notice that the yellow bounce here starts to diminish. This is because there is less and less direct lighting hitting the back of this wall. So if I scale the sphere sideways, you will notice that all of a sudden things are going to start to look much brighter and whiter. This is because the sphere is white and this is the light that is being bounced off and is hitting here the ceiling, and then the ceiling is hitting the wall here. So only the areas that direct light is hitting this back wall is where we're going to get a little bit of that indirect yellow in there. So to get good indirect lighting, it is absolutely necessary to get some good direct lighting first. A major key into getting global illumination to work right for you. Now let's take a look at another scene which is a little more complicated and see which elements contribute to which other elements actually contribute to the global illumination solution. Alright, so here we have our slightly more complicated scene where we have a sphere, a cube, a cylinder, and an inverted cone. So watch out. Okay, so I'm just kidding here. Chances are once you start working with on your film, you're going to be working with more complicated geometry than this. So I decided to go ahead, instead of using this scene, we are going to be working with something more along these lines. So I decided to get a couple of packs here. One is the Task Force Combo Pack, which comes with a Humvee vehicle and 3 different texture skins, and characters and weapons all PBR ready. And actually the weapons have scripts. The Humvee, you can actually drive it around, all with physics. Very well done package. Congratulations, Adolf. Now the second package here is Visual Essentials. And I can't stress enough what an awesome deal this package is. The power tools alone are worth 99 bucks, but this package combo comes also with 200 substances that are already PBR and are the best ones from the library from Algorithmic, and also comes with HDR images, high quality HDR images, and 200 lookup tables, which are film looks. All in that single patch of 99 bucks. Is a steal. Get it. Don't even think about it, because it's totally worth it. You're gonna need it in your films. All right, enough PR about that, and let's get to the tutorial. So, GI Basics Part 1, which elements contribute to global illumination? Now, this scene looks complicated, but the lighting rig here actually is quite simple. It's only one directional light that's driving this whole image, and then the rest is global illumination and a touch of HDR lighting to fill in for those dark areas where the GI can't reach. See? So that's all it's doing. It's just filling in, because skylight actually is a direct light source, because the light rays from the skylight actually would touch a surface without indirect bounce. So you have to add that. So without good direct lighting, you cannot get good global illumination. That's something that I stress a lot in my videos. So always keep that in mind. All right. So I'm really, just to let you know, I'm really pushing the limit of my video card. My video card has 12 gigabytes of RAM. I'm already at 7.7. So always keep an eye on that memory, because you never want to go and have iClone go to your system memory and start swapping back and forth between the video card and your system memory, because then your environment will be unworkable inside iClone. So always keep an eye on your memory. A cool trick that I usually do is when I set up my scene and animate, I usually work with auxiliary light first, which is a brand new feature in iClone 7. And look at here, from 7.7 we went to 5.8, so major memory saver. Once you start doing your initial lighting scene, go to project settings and make sure you're working in low res mode first for your voxels. So we went to from 5.8 to 7.7, and once you're ready to start finalizing your lighting, then go to high resolution mode. And you will notice that, look at the difference between high resolution and low resolution. This is low, this is high. In high, you are going to get a lot more contrast out of your GI, because it evaluates occlusion a lot better. So, and what's happening here is, because this is such a large world, if you work in low resolution and your cubes here, your voxels are going to be huge, and they're not going to fall in the right place all the time. So to make sure that you do, you go into higher resolution, the cubes are much smaller. If you want to learn more about voxels, check the link below. I already did a tutorial on that and explained that in detail how that works. All right. So this is just a heads up for you. Now, as I mentioned before, our setup is super simple. We are using a directional light, a little bit of IBL, and the rest is all GI. So look what happens when I turn off both the GI and the IBL. That's only the directional light in there, and that's it. So super simple light rig, beautiful, beautiful results. Super simple results. That's all there is to that. So directional lights definitely contribute to global illumination. So what else contributes to global illumination? IBLs do. However, in order for that to work, you got to make sure you click on this checkbox over here. Now, the results here are very slight, but in order to accentuate the effect here, we're going to go ahead and do a few minor changes to the scene. we are going to turn off our directional light so that only the IBL is on. We're going to make sure that our voxel resolution is high, which it is. Next, we're going to crank up the strength of the IBL. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a very simple piece of geometry and I'm going to drop it in the scene so we can work with that. Now, the way that GI works with the IBL is it takes the strongest pixels in the scene, and that's where you're going to see the most bounce from. Now, in order to illustrate this, I'm going to go ahead and balance a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and increase the bounce of the sphere, of the IBL, of the GI, I'm sorry, overall. So you can start seeing a little bit of that bounce. And this is one of the reasons why you need to work in high resolution. Look at what happens when we go to low res. You are not seeing the bounce from the sphere, and you should definitely be seeing that. But that's because the sphere probably is falling on a voxel that is not falling on the proper voxel in order to create that bounce solution. This is why you need a high resolution mesh for the voxels. So you can see here from this one to this one is quite different. So see, you can actually see a little piece of the sphere here sticking out. It's not really truly getting covered. So whereas this is a lot more detail going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my IBL real quick. And the strength is pretty good. And I want to show you here how this works. I'm going to go ahead and select the sphere and go to the modified tab, materials, and I am going to go ahead and make the sphere shiny by taking the roughness all the way down so you can actually see the IBL at work here. Now, right now it's super blown out, and what's happening is the strongest source of the hottest spot on the IBL is right behind the camera. So I'm going to press Shift I so I can move this around. And you can see the effect here as we rotate our IBL. See, now the strongest area of the HDR image is facing the camera now, and so the bounce is actually happening behind the sphere, not in front. So that's how the GI the IBL is contributing to the GI by using the strongest source from the HDR image. So let's go ahead and undo this a few times and do that until the sphere is gone, and we'll be back in no time. Okay. All right. So there we go. Let's turn this back off like the way it was, and let's go ahead and check out the nighttime scene. Okay. Now, as you saw before, we had some spotlights over here. Now, the spotlights were turned down to 0, but now, when we got a nighttime, my directional light went down to 0, whereas my spotlights now went from 0 to another value. And I'm using this to hit certain surfaces in the town, so you can see a little more detail out of it. To better see this, I'm going to go ahead and select this gun turret here, and I'm going to turn it off so you can see a little bit more further down the street. So we have this big monument going on back there where you have some nice lighting, and this is a good example to show you how important it is from going from low to resolution to high resolution. Right now we are in high resolution. I'm going to go to low. Look, all of a sudden my lights here went off. This scene looks quite different. And this is because, again, the voxels, because my GI range has to go all the way back to this monument back here, it's quite big. It's 1,000 units big. So my voxels here are tremendously huge when we have to reach all the way back there. And that means that certain geometries that are, for example, light emissive geometry, is not hitting the right voxel. So in order to actually see that, you're going to have to make those voxels smaller. And this is what the high resolution voxel mode is for. So, however, we went from 7.7 gigabytes all the way to 9. So, and remember, our limit here is 12.2, and we do not want to reach that, because you have to take in consideration you're going to have an animation that is going to be adding to the memory usage, and effects and everything else. So, always stay within your memory's card limit. Do not go beyond that. Alright, so in this scene, so let's go ahead and turn off our display here for our directional light, and we're using mostly spotlights and light emissive surfaces. Now, what are light emissive surfaces? Well, they are just pieces of geometry that emit light, and they could have a texture or not. So let's take a look at that first, okay? So let's take a look at this, and I am going to go ahead and here, let's see, I'm going to select this guy over there, and I'm going to turn it from a dummy to a regular object so you can see the geometry. And you will notice here that I'm actually using a texture. And actually what's happening is that texture is emitting light. Now, you're not going to see a lot of it if you're working in low resolution mode, because what's happening, the voxels are not covering the proper surface area. But once you go into high resolution, then you actually start seeing the colors from that texture onto your GI bounce and GI emission. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind when you're working with your final lighting, okay? So we have a texture, but it doesn't have to have a texture in order to emit light. All you need is a color, and you can use the diffuse color from here if you have to. Right now I'm using a texture because I like to use an emission that is different from a single color, so it has more value to it. So we have two of those guys, so right there and one there. And then on top of that, I also added a couple of spotlights to increase the range of the light, because right now, while my GI emission can go pretty far, it's not as concentrated. The lighting is not as concentrated as it should be. So what I'm needing to do here is add these extra spotlights to increase the range and the focus of those beams for the Jeep. So there's no reason why we can't combine both, and it's a good practice to do anything that you have to do in order to get the look correct, right? Okay, so light emissive surfaces, they can use a texture, or they can illuminate without a texture. So in other words, if I pick this barrel, for example, and I'm going to go ahead into the Materials tab, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it, hey, you know what? I want you to glow. So I'm going to tell the self-illumination on all the way up, like so. And I am going to go down over here and make sure that illumination is turned on for this guy. And the scale, I'm going to bring up the scale here for glow and self-illumination. And now all of a sudden, that barrel is emitting light, just like that. So in reality, this is not correct. So let's go ahead and bring this value to 1 and make sure that this our barrel here is set up the proper way. No self-illumination is necessary because the barrel does not emit light by itself. Okay, so there we have our nice little barrel. Let's leave it alone there. So anyhow, let's go ahead and see how else we can play with this. Now notice here we have a whole bunch of street lights here, and I'm going to select here my street light that is named FG, which is for foreground, And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the spotlight on this particular rig, because I went ahead and I attached the point light and a spotlight. By the way, point lights do not contribute to global illumination. So if your scene is made out of point lights and you turn GI on and you see nothing happening, this is because they do not contribute to GI at all. These are good just for fillers, and they do have its usages. For example, look at this light over here. This one has a point light as well in the rig, but what I'm using it for here is, look at, if I turn it off, on and off, what happens? See, you kind of lose that light. You lose the pole, you lose the hot source that the light would be emitting from, for example. So this is a good way to use point lights, because you can really control the radius of the light emission. So they do have their uses, you know, but just not for GI. Just remember that. And then we, of course, we have our spotlight. So here I'm going to go ahead and select this foreground one. I'm going to turn that off so you can actually see that the spotlight's coming from the Jeep, and the light emissive surfaces, how they're contributing to the GI solution here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Jeep here, and I'm going to start moving it around a little bit so you can see. Look at this. This is all in real time, guys. Actually, let's make sure that we select the top node of the Jeep. So I'm going to select the Jeep again and make sure that this red box comes on. That means that's how we select the top mode of that Jeep, by the way. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Rotate the whole Jeep now, and I'm going to point it this way. I am going to bring it up, move it forward, and I'm going to tilt it down. Let's see. No, that's the wrong kind of tilt. Let's see. Undo. And this way. Now what I want you to see is that how cool this is. Notice how my spotlights are bouncing off the sand and illuminating this wall. Look at that. So spotlights, absolutely. Light emissive surfaces, absolutely. They do bounce around. All right, let's undo this. Bring the scene back the way it was real quick. All right. Okay, so we are back in business here. And see, what else contribute to global illumination? Well, directional lights, spotlights, light emissive surfaces, and now another element. And I'm going to go ahead and increase my range so that you can see this. Next, I'm going to go ahead and bring that turret back that we turned off earlier on. Let's see, where are you? Over here. Okay, so we turned that on. Notice that it already has, it already comes with our turret. Comes with a particle attached to it. And it has a couple of geometries that are emissive surfaces. So when it fires, it actually illuminates the geometry, which is super cool. Look at, you can see that on the ground as well. So you can use light emissive surfaces as a special effect. And if you combine that with particles now, check this out. Let me make sure we have enough range here so we can let the particles run. And look at this. All right, look at that. So particles can actually emit light in this GI solution. And the way you do it is you have to make sure, now let's go here to our particles. We have 3 particle setups. We have a ground explosion, we have air flame, and then we have some flames. I think it's called, the particles is something that comes with a default iClone, which is hellfire. So I'm combining all those 3, and the trick here is when you select the particle, you got to make sure that under GI settings, illumination is turned on. Okay, so you click on this box right here and you crank up the strength. Notice, however, that the slider only goes to 100 you can actually go beyond that number. I'm not sure what the limit is here. Okay, let's keep typing some. Let's see if we can find that limit. Wow, you can go to 500 and still going strong. All right, 900 maybe? No, 900 won't let you. So somewhere between probably what, 700? Nope. 500 might be the limit here. Let's go to 6. Nope, it won't let me. So 500 is the limit. All right, yeah, we found something new here. Excellent. All right, so you can totally exaggerate as much as you want this. And however, look at the Jeep here without the particles. For example, let's go to one frame back. See, super dark. And now slowly as we move forward, the Jeep is getting illuminated. Not only that, because the particles are moving all over the place, you can actually see the flickering happen all over the scene. Super cool. So particles definitely contribute to the global illumination solution. And with this, we will conclude part 1 of GI Basics. On part 2, we will cover the global illumination UI. We will go slider by slider and see what each one does, and I will show you how to best use them. Until then, take care, and I will catch you in our next tutorial.